Well, it's about time. We're about down to the.
Yeah, yours, yeah.
Kiddo.
Right. Stick up the open sign. All right, it's 8:30 and I'm going to call this meeting of the Jefferson County Board of Supervisors to order. My name is Darren Hamilton, I'm the chair. Our first order of business would be to acknowledge the minutes from the previous meeting. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Let's see. Mike, okay, we'll move on to,
We've got one on the 12th.
oh, excuse me.
I'll make a motion to approve the one on the 14th, which
Okay.
was with, you weren't here,
Oh, okay.
Lindsay Gomez from iPad.
Oh, yes. So we have the regular meeting on Monday, October 12th, which we have approved. We have a motion to approve the October 14th meeting work session that was held. I have a second from, I have a motion from Sandquist. A second, I'll second it. From Hamilton, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. And we have one abstention. All right. Our county engineer is not in the office with us, so we'll wait just a little bit for him. There are quite a bit of items here on this list that we need him here to help discuss and move through. So why don't we drop down to discuss and consider wage increase for 3 treasurer office personnel. That would be number 9 on ours.
Yeah, I have reservations about this because we already did 3% in the budget next mid-year.
Do we know, is this a step increase?
No.
No, yeah, that's some information. I did some research and talked to payroll. So basically, even though the rest of the employees have gotten like 3% increase the last couple of years, if you look through here, he's given them more.
Okay.
And it looks like here he's got an employee quitting, so he wants to take that money and give it to these people. But that, for internal equity with other departments, isn't equitable because they're getting a lot more.
Well, I agree. And the thing is, during budget time, we went through this process. We had this conversation.
Yeah.
And this, in my estimation, was a backdoor method. And had the conversation with Mark. He came in, so I want everybody to know up front that he wasn't trying to pull wool over anybody's eyes. And he indicated that he had the money in his budget. My concern is, even if he had the money in his budget for this fiscal year, is he going to have the money in his budget for the next fiscal year and succeeding fiscal years without, needing an increase? Of course, you guys are going to be faced with trying to stay under that 2%. So in my estimation, from my perspective, I guess I'm not exactly sure where Dee's position is.
I don't think we should do it.
I would say I would.
So let's just not act on it.
I would reject the notion.
So do you want a motion or?
I would think that we would If,
You're on here. Do you want us to make a motion on this or just not act on it?
Pat McVan, we're currently talking about discuss and consider wage increase for 3 treasurer's office employees. Have you heard any of the discussion that we've had with this to this point?
No, I just got on.
Okay,
Okay, we don't want to act on this, so should we just not do anything or make a motion to say we reject the,
Well, I guess it depends. Are you not wanting to act on it today because you don't have enough information, or do you want to
No.
kind of end the discussion?
okay, thank you. So how do we word the motion? Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Pat, the question I have is, and I'm not in favor of these wage increases. The question I have is, as an elected official, does he have the right to do that within, as long as it's within his current fiscal budget that has been approved back in March? And we don't know whether or not the revenue will be available in the succeeding
Oh,
fiscal year. Huh?
Yes. Hi, Vicki.
But that doesn't mean we have to approve it, correct?
Correct. I mean,
Yes.
do you
Okay,
have
so-
the ability to,
Oh, okay. Deposit.
Mike, we need,
I had to mute Mike Brown. So Pat, would you continue?
I mean, you have the ability to kind of finalize and approve any payroll decisions on that. I mean, I think it's a more difficult decision to make when it doesn't change the bottom line in terms of the department's budget. I don't know, a lot of the departments don't have sort of what I would call the step increases like the engineer's office does, for example. But if this were 3, engineer office employees or 3 correctional officers that have those step increases sort of built in, would you be having the same conversation? I don't know if these are people that, finished like a probation period. I don't know what the context of it is. But
They've all just been here since like 2018 and 2019. They're not really long-term employees.
This is a $2,000 pay increase.
We're talking significant
Not
here,
10
Pat, not
not
10
10
cents.
okay, so
And a document that Dee handed us from the auditor's office says that all employees are short-term under 2 years. They've already received significant pay increases during that time. Number 2 bullet point was a huge salary spike for these employees was already dealt with in the 2020-2021 budget time. Department budgets will be discussed again for the 2021-2022 fiscal year in January of 2021. Bullet point number 3 is attrition through employees quitting is an opportunity for reduction in the staff size, saving costs. And bullet point number 4, as for wage comparison, there are many variables to consider. And it is pointed out, Dee had made the point earlier that they are reducing by one employee.
But that's the one that was added about a year ago. Because Terry had several years ago not filled the position. I guess the bottom line is, again, we already discussed that internal equity wouldn't be fair. Next year holds with a 2% increase, and if we can sustain this. I'm gonna make,
We're talking about your request, number 9 here. Discuss and consider wage increases for 3 treasurer office employees. And Dee had done some research on it. Lee has had his opinion on it. I haven't said anything one way or another yet as far as what I consider is equitable or not.
I apologize for coming in late. I figured it'd take a little longer for the-
Well, yeah, we figured we would take a little longer too, but we didn't have anything to go over because our engineer was not in the office here with us.
Have you brought up to the speed?
You just did.
I just did. That's, we're debating. Go ahead.
Basically, it's a mid-year thing, which we typically don't do,
And these
so
are,
Lee and I are leaning against it just because of the internal equity on my part, but
and there isn't step increases for the employees. These aren't considered a step increase. This would be an actual adjustment in budget for salaries only. So,
Why would they not be considered a step increase? Is it not my decision?
um,
I started these guys in the lower wage because of 28 agreement breach that was done with the previous treasurer. So I had to hire somebody in order to make that work with and everything else that hit, and I lost. These guys are actually, this increase is actually bringing them back up closer to where they should have been had the 28 agreement not been in place.
What 28E agreement?
The one that's a few years ago, Terry and a couple of other people that were involved with DOT and NYU went together, and there was a 6-month hold was placed on the NYU as far as coming in and getting their permit test. That's a breach of the 20D agreement.
Okay.
I've heard 3 different stories from 3 different people. What I've gathered is they all just kind of agree to disagree on. When I was sworn in, at that point, they came back to me and pushed.
Okay, I still don't understand what that has to do with this. With salary increases. We had this conversation during the budget process. And we're looking at
significant increases.
$5,500, which is more than what I would constitute as a step increase, 10 cents or 25 cents.
Right, but the issue again is I had to start them at a lower grade in order to get that 6th person in here to stay within the budget 2 years ago. If you look at it from an apples to apples comparison with other offices within the courthouse, those salaries are well within reason.
Well, okay, we're also looking at 16,000, 10,000, and 10,000. So you're looking at $36,000 of increases since 2018. I'm just looking at the numbers that are here. What they were making on their hire date was 32.5, 32.5, and 32.5. Your request takes them to 48, 42, and 42.
Yeah.
That's $36,000. Nobody that I'm aware of in 2 years has gotten $10,000 in increases. And what they started at, I mean, I don't know whose decision that was or how that was set up, but it was agreed to when they hired in, just like a jailer hires in at 32.4 or whatever it is. And yes, they get increases as they progress in steps. Same thing with the road department, but that's established ahead of time. I did ask Pat the question as to whether or not, because you are indeed an elected official and you have jurisdiction over your office, but and I realized that you indicated to me that this would still be within your budget as currently constituted, so that we wouldn't be exceeding that which was previously approved. Dee brings up a good point, at least in my estimation. There'd be another potentially 3% on top of that in a matter of a few months, because you're going to start the discussion in about 2 months, for budget. I just think it's
Something to address at budget time.
well, and I don't think, obviously, I'm an outgoing supervisor and I'm not going to be here, so, but I just think that being forced to live within a 2% allowable growth, obviously, the county can take steps to exceed that. But I don't think $36,000 in pay raises over a period of 2 years is.
I've also had to hire 3 of them within the last 2 years. No other office has had to do that.
Well, I understand that, but you got 32.5 on 2019, June 3rd of 2019, and you're proposing
And
40,
moving forward, we won't have that issue.
but you're proposing 42,000. That's a $9,500 increase. Same
It's
thing.
about 33% increase in 18 months.
Only 2 years.
That's significant.
I just don't see it as responsible at this point. And I'm not concerned so much about this budget year that we're currently in, as I am moving forward. But I don't think it's prudent.
Right, I agree.
What would you feel?
Nothing at this point. We write out the budget year and then you have the discussion during the 2 months when we start the budget process with the new board.
And by then we can do an internal equity thing to see, you know, where they rate. And I thought we looked at that when we did the budget.
We did, I did everything humanly possible to show you guys
So-
every single avenue. And yet, here we are.
Yeah,
Saying that my employee base is not worth the same.
No, Mark, that's not the case, but
Then
That's
explain
fine.
it to me in a better way, Lee, because that's kind of how.
I will never be in favor of giving $2,000
You gave me a $7,000 raise a year and a half after I was here.
when we're doing everybody else along the way. That's a little different scenario. Everybody got what was a set pay increase. Whether it was enough or not enough, you can always have that debate, working within the restrictions that you have to work within. But, and we went, you're right, we had this discussion, and you're right, you provided everything that you could to make your case. And I think that you worked extremely hard to provide that. But in the end, we said no.
Mhm.
Okay, this is a backdoor method to achieve that. I'm sorry, but that's the way I feel about it. But we already said no on. Now, I don't know if legally, if we need to have a motion, if we don't, we don't. I don't know what to.
I'll make a motion, we wait and address it at budget time.
I have a motion from Sandquist.
Pat, is that, I know, is that,
Yeah, that'd be fine.
He said yes, that would be
okay,
fine.
then I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion from Sandquist and a second from Dimmitt to not move forward with this until budget time period begins in January. Is that the way you want your motion? Brent?
Well, yeah, we'll address it in budget time.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Mark. All right. So we'll move on now back to meet with our county engineer.
Well, they continued to do blading, but now we're kind of in a mode of getting the roads ready for winter. So, yeah, supposedly it could snow, but anyway, what I was gonna mention about, yeah, so I don't remember now. After October 15th of each year, if during preparation for winter, they have to lay over maybe an area that has some dust control. I mean, after October 15th, that dust control isn't necessarily going to be protected from having new gravel for the winter or blading it up to make sure that the road's okay over the winter. If there's potholes that have been repaired by the person who had the dust control put there, then we've got to repair them. So that doesn't mean we're going to go come in and purposely wipe it out, but it could get bladed over, and we're not gonna do dust control until spring again. So, culverts, they repaired a box on Carnation and repaired a culvert on 110th Street west of Pleasant Plain. Ditching, they finished doing what they're gonna do on Indigo. Erosion control, put riprap, which is mainly broken concrete, on a pipe on Fruitwood. And they still have been mowing shoulders on gravels and pavements.
We've been spreading some spot rock.
Yeah. Well,
So did we get contract rock this year?
that was one of the things I discussed that we held off on, but we've been putting rock down, and some of it came under, low. I don't know that you call it contract, but construction, graveling. They've been doing a lot more rock hauling ourselves. And in the spring, we'll probably try to get rock hauling in earlier, use some farm market funds to actually bid out some rock hauling. But yeah, that was one thing we needed to do to keep ourselves busy with people allowing in their truck hauling rock for COVID. And so with that extra rock hauling, we're holding off on doing the same kind of contract we did last year, for instance. Then snow plowing. We prepared the trucks in case they have to go out. I'm sure they're,
The town is in pretty good shape.
yeah, so they're,
It was better than Portland.
yeah, so they're out there keeping the trucks. Yeah, Brent said coming in on 4-lane wasn't that great this morning, so. And if we do anything like putting down salt brine, we can only do it when the DOT's got some prepared. We give them some salt and then give us some brine. But I'm not aware that we got any brine today or over the weekend. I'm kind of doubtful that there was brine, but I haven't talked to Billy this morning, so. There's several other things besides on that list. Let's see. Are those lists of the last 2 weeks? Since we didn't have a meeting last week, we didn't have one. There's some results on nutmeg. There's more results that we haven't processed yet, but
What do we have so far? I know.
like around October 6th, there was one day with 230. The next day, 249, the next day, 273. Then on a Friday, it was 341. And Saturday, 290. So some weekends we're getting more traffic than during the week when you have Cambridge people going. But then Cambridge is down. Last I heard, which probably a month ago, was that it seemed like they were only about, at one time they didn't have anybody going out there, but now maybe half. I'm not sure. I just heard secondhand from somebody that worked there, essentially. I talked to them. So, but then the next Monday, October 12th, 327. So I think 300 is the
It's
the
interesting to
DOT
see the
number.
last couple of weeks, because I know there's been a lot of semis on it.
Yeah, so he got some results, I think, Friday morning, and then put the device back. So,
And depending, you know, if you get enough data from that, then can go down to Jasmine. Down around where they cleaned out that ditch in that road at some point
Oh,
for traffic count, because that seems to be the other, or Juniper, yeah, I'm sorry. So,
yeah, we could do some other areas.
Maybe nutmeg in our 5-year plan by any chance? Just thought of it.
I would take that as a no.
I've been entertaining thoughts of maybe try the auto seal, which is instead of
Yeah.
like 2 thin lifts of seal coat, it's 2 thick coats of seal coat that come like the second one is done a week after, or 2 weeks after the first one. And there's been a lot of research done on that. Should be some research reports coming out on it.
So then the roadbed would have to be prepared before you do that, or if we don't do that, would we end up like Brookville? Especially with heavy truck traffic where you get so much of this that it breaks up.
And what we would do is, dig out the ditches, get all the drainage, then do a base stabilization. I mean, there's been one on it already. We'll probably do it again to increase the effectiveness of that, and then put down the double seal coat in one season. One of the things about, if we want to do it right now, is that we don't necessarily have a contractor. They wouldn't have to come from a long ways away, but I mean, they've done it in Lima County, and got pretty good feedback on it, and they've done it in Cherokee County. I went to see projects done there while I was looking at a special bridge thing they were doing up there. So it has promise and would be a lot less expensive than paving, and then could still put some paving later on. Maybe put down asphalt on top of what's down. There, I mean, it's, but as far as coming in with concrete or asphalt right away in this upcoming 5-year cycle, I guess I don't know that we'll have the funding to do it, but we could consider
Can
looking
we
to
do this other thing that you just suggested somewhere in the relatively near future?
the double, the auto seal. I would like to do that on some of the roads that are more heavily traveled and create a lot of dust. So
Can you work that into the plan?
yeah, I'll see what we can do about where it would be best to be done. I mean, we do intend to do a lot of base stabilization, which would be the first step anyway.
Right.
So the roads we consider for auto seal would be those that consider for base stabilization, but I don't think those require like a construction budget item for them. But you know, if we're going to do the whole thing, maybe we just throw in base stabilization and the auto seal. I mean, we could do the base stabilization ourselves. The auto seal, we wouldn't want to try to buy equipment for that any more than we would get seal coat. I'm thinking there's one company that does all the seal coat in this area, and I've approached them before, and I'd like for them to, if they give the capability to do seal.
That Juniper on your list.
Yeah.
Just curious.
Good, thanks, Bob.
Let's see, so some other things. Upcoming is the County State Bridge Construction Fund applications, and the one bridge we applied for last year was the Libertyville Bridge. Funding on that, then we'll do that one again this year. And, let's see. We've asked the person to, come on board for November 1st. We discussed that that person would be replacing,
Someone retiring in December?
no, this retiring November 1st.
No, okay.
Who's gonna take his place on that?
There's, I think, Kyle is. They're shifting things around, so. Kyle's taking one area and, another person's moving, so. So we've got that covered, and this new person would be put on the, wheeled excavator, which is, I think maybe Kyle has done work on, in that before. I mean, we want somebody, this person was specifically interviewed for working on that piece of equipment. So, the issue is, we want them to start November 1st, and I didn't have we just yesterday or Friday got some information back that says, says background check, and we've done physical, we've done drug testing, and didn't really get those results all back in time. And I was just thinking, oh, we'd have a resolution on what is it, November 2nd, but is there going to be a meeting in November 2nd?
When you go to that problem, I mean,
I don't see why it wouldn't be.
Okay.
Yeah, there was discussion about November 2nd, not,
because it's the election, sometimes we don't, but we could have a short one
Yeah.
if we needed one.
And then
Because
there's
you,
another item that I would want to potentially bring at that same time too. Besides, I just would feel uncomfortable if we had to make him wait another 15 days or.
is he available to start?
Yes. That's the times we talked about. And then I got to thinking, well, what if we don't have a meeting? I guess I thought I'd bring it up today.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, we could have one, just a short one later this week, and then we just have a couple things.
yeah, we could probably have a work session in order to do this. Coming up Thursday or Friday of this week. What does our schedules look like that?
Would that be easier for the auditor's office?
I know the believe
Otherwise,
it's
we're always
Thursday.
interested in making things easier for the auditor's office.
You better watch it, you're
I
sitting
know.
up there. Thursday would probably be better for me.
Thursday, the 29th.
Right now, I don't, whoops, right now I don't have anything.
Okay, so would you want that morning or afternoon?
I don't know.
9 a.m. work session on,
Good. So can we do a work session on other things too?
if we have the full agenda of what you want to talk about, we can do the other items other than just this.
No, let's just wait.
Well, this next item that you might want to consider, and this is evolving as we speak, because we got bids last week on the bundle project that would include the 146 Boulevard Bridge for us, and then a bridge for Lee County and a bridge for Van Buren County. And so like 10 minutes before I was gonna come here, I got this new information. And I still haven't had a chance to read it thoroughly, but so the bids came in on Tuesday, and I got all the results, tabulation on Wednesday, and analyzed it and said, well, from Jefferson County's point of view, I would want to proceed. And I got a call from Julie Redmond at Culverts and Associates, and she was saying, well, you're probably, looking at the results, you're probably not going to get anything better by bidding it again. It might be worse because you have more of these bundle bridge projects being bid on next month, like our other bundle is bid on in November. Will be anyway. So, but what happened was Jefferson County, we had 750,000 programmed, and the bid came in at, I can tell you the bid price, but everything else is confidential until the project's awarded, and I won't tell you what the other two projects did. So, but ours was in the neighborhood of 706,000, which is well below the 750,000. Now the consultant estimated it like 60-some thousand less than the bid, but and that's better than the other two companies ended up being. Their bids compared. Let's see, swap funds would be the match, so it'd be 54.86, like that percent federal, and then the rest is swap funds, bridge money that we have. And this latest report on bridge I should go ahead and pass these out. That's the agreement we have on that bundle. And then this came 10 minutes before I was being here, and so I also responded to the group that's looking into this and what we want to do. Like I said, I haven't read this resolution myself, so I didn't have time to get over here and read it ahead of time. So, plus I was also looking for the information that Matt gave me. And I thought, well, we'll just have to skip that item, but he gave me the information when it came in, so.
You can just put that all on, but also Alyssa or Abby or somebody so that they can, because they'll have to redo the.
Well, I'm not sure. There was, let's see, Ryan Thornburg from Van Buren County just sent this email about the time I got it and printed it out, and then he was sending it to the DOT and asking them if this is something acceptable. There's been a few days discussion going on now about how we proceed. One of the responses we got from the DOT was, what I've highlighted there, is that all the counties have to take action. What that action is not necessarily defined. I'm thinking that by Thursday, if we have to have a resolution as part of our action, that would be a good, out of a hurry to get this awarded.
Well, let's just, for sake of argument, yeah, and you should know more, how much time do I have? Whether or not, if you don't have it by Wednesday morning, then okay, then it doesn't get on. But as a secondary question, in reading that highlighted section, do all three counties have to agree, or is it two of the three?
All three. And we should agree because.
Well, yeah, I just didn't know whether or not one of the other counties say, oh, we don't like this, and then we're out that money.
No. So then,
No?
what do you mean? We wouldn't get the money if it never gets accepted, yeah.
Well, I'm just saying, and I'm not throwing Vandenberg County under the bus, I'm just using an example. If Lee County, Jefferson County go, yeah, hey, this is, and we'll give a thumbs up, and Vandenberg County says, nah, we don't like this, are we not going to get the money?
But this resolution is from Van Buren County, and it would be to award it. All of the engineers are in agreement to award it, but things can happen. I mean, it's up to the boards of supervisors. So my question that I sent before I got this was, would we just each need to have a resolution saying, calling upon Van Buren County as Van Buren County is the contracting authority. They also happen to be the ones that have the largest gap between, I think their bridge is actually over the program amount. So they would be coming up with funds to make up for that. And that's certainly, they're certainly easily able to do that. They just won't get, the amount of federal money they get will be the same, but it won't be as much as 55.86% like everybody else. They'll have to have put in more bridge funds of their own that are already designated for them. So I just wanted to make you aware that this came out just before I got here. I had to stop everything, print it, answer back, and then head here. So I probably put it on an agenda for Thursday. And then this is already taken care of. The DOT gets back. So you don't all need to do something. Then Green County could do this.
You want to use this as a template and plug in our numbers and stuff? Or can't you?
Well, I can do a resolution. I mean, we could probably just have a really simple resolution. We recommend, I said, what I said was to discuss the bid and then here in general to the board. And then the discussions that I got from Lee and Van Buren counties were kind of, well, we think maybe concrete is one of the issues going on. The concrete beams are higher, the concrete put on the deck is higher. And so we probably all have those same issues. And then, I mean, that went around. So I said, discuss with the board what our design consultant said about it, which was, I already said it, but that she didn't believe we'd get any better bids later on. We might actually be higher with more of these, but contractors being tied up, especially in our case, we got one bid. And they might say, well, now we're already obligated if we wait until later, and there might not be anybody else that would bid on it. Or if they did, they'd have to come from farther away, and they'd say, well, let's just throw in a high bid. So that's why I'm thinking that from Jefferson County standpoint, we definitely want to, in my estimation, my recommendation is we definitely want to accept the bid. Lee has told me, the Lee County engineers told me that they agree with that, and then I said this resolution. So I mean, all the engineers on board, we just want to get all the boards of supervisors on board, and Van Buren County is the one that has to do a resolution. We may have to do resolutions to Van Buren County to say, we want to go ahead with it, and then they give the one to the UT.
Okay.
Well, if it's ready, it's on Thursday, it's ready. If it's not, we're meeting Thursday, eventually we're not gonna meet on Monday.
Hopefully, we're not meeting on Monday, the second.
So I would put this and the employment issue on for sure, and if one of them, I mean, if this resolution is handled or answered by the DOT before then, I'll respond accordingly and bring to the meeting what has transpired.
And shouldn't that go,
And
we're gonna be approving a couple things, let's discuss and consider, not just a work session on the agenda.
Now,
for Thursday.
for Thursday, but
Yeah.
just to not discuss and consider this,
No,
or,
it should be listed as discuss and consider.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the way it should be listed. Mhm. Okay,
so, that's still not.
continuing on.
Here's another thing that just came in, is that 23 counties got contacted about the build grant, talked about before. And so we're still in the running. But there's some things that they want to know what responded to. And one of them is to, and I got this information from Councilman Burton, is to kind of give more information on, a little more detail on how the cost was estimated. And so Councilman Burton's, like, all we did was give them a budget figure, and they want more of an estimate with listing things out. So I'm prepared to give that back. Second thing they said in here is, talk to your board. Is it acceptable to them if the project were not able to be let prior to January 2022? I don't see, if you're interested in getting it, I don't see why that's like, there might be somebody who's got a bridge out there that's ready to collapse, and that wouldn't be acceptable.
Right, but we're not in that particular situation, so you're just informing us that if there is something like that, then this would not become accessible. Not become a priority for us, I guess. That we would have to wait until, or couldn't wait until January 2022, but I don't see anything. I haven't heard anything from Scott that would keep us from doing that, so we've discussed it. All right, and then you had number 7 here pointed out on this
Yes,
list.
is if the project were to be funded as low as 50%, the county must meet 50% match. Is the county willing and able to do so? Well, that will come out of swamp funds. So we at some point maybe borrowing ahead on this, but a lot of counties are doing. I think I mentioned that before, because I figured this last bid, is $706,000 roughly dollars for, that was October 20th, for this bundle bridge, the 146. Out of that, there's 300,000 HB bridge funds, HBP, swap, whatever you want to call them, funds that would come from us, and the rest of it would come from the federal government. And that still didn't put us into a borrowing ahead situation, but the 300,000. So we've got something like 2,295,000 $296,000 for a 6-year borrow ahead available to let, is how they list on that. So, and because if we get a bridge, like I said, of the 706,000, only almost 300,000 comes out of that available to let funding, and the rest is, that still leaves us,
Is that total or is that just bridge funds?
that's bridge.
What do we have in the road end of it,
That's a whole different,
It's fine. I just-
and this just came out Friday. And it included the bid, so that was nice. So roughly, we've got $2 million to borrow ahead on, and most of the stuff we would borrow ahead on, it would be, most of the projects, it would be at least half federally funded, and so we're in good shape as far as borrowing ahead, and right now, we're still not borrowing ahead.
Well, if it's not left till 2022, there would be more bridge funds put in the pot, so to speak, anyway.
$285,000 to $300,000 a year comes in. So, yeah, and when, as soon as you have a bid letting, they take off from that borrow ahead. I mean, you still have the funds sitting there until they're spent. But, so I mean, I think I don't think that's a problem.
My take on this is both 2 and 7, you talked to us, and we're going to rely on you if there's no problem waiting until January 2022. We would dispute that, and number 7 basically is the same thing. So I don't think that should derail anything.
No, I don't see it as that either. So. All right, anything further before we start getting into these agreements?
I think that covers everything. I have.
Okay, we're going to move on to discuss and consider additional information needed for the first screening for those bridges selected as a high potential candidate to submit for build agreement.
Guess that's what we just.
Okay, all right. So since we've already covered that, then we'll move on to consider supplemental agreement number 2 with Calhoun Burns and Associates Incorporated for construction phase services for bridge on 257th Street, bridge number 200-420. Yes.
Consider them all in one.
I don't believe so. I think
Okay.
we'll need to do these resolutions each as an individual item.
Fine, I didn't ask.
No, it would make things easier, but I think the way we've got them laid out, we need to do these as an individual resolution for each one of these agreements. So the first resolution would be it resolved by the Jefferson County Board of Supervisors to approve supplemental agreement with Calhoun and Burns Associates Incorporated for construction phase services on bridge FHWA number 200-420 over stream on County Road 257th Street in section 24, Township 71 North, Range 10 West, Liberty Township in Jefferson County, Iowa. Do I have a motion to approve this? I have a motion from Dimmitt, a second from Sandquist for approval. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay. Consider supplemental agreement number 2 with Calhoun and Burns Incorporated for construction services and bridge on 146th Boulevard, bridge number 202000. The resolution is read as follows: be it resolved by the Jefferson County Board of Supervisors to approve supplemental agreement with Calhoun and Burns and Associates Incorporated for construction phase services on bridge FHWA number 202000 over Oak Creek on County Road 146th Boulevard in section 26, Township 73 North, Range 8 West, Liberty Township in Jefferson County, Iowa. I would make a motion that we approve this resolution. I have a motion from Hamilton, a second from Dennett. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, consider supplemental agreement number 2 with Calhoun Burns and Associates Incorporated for construction phase services for bridge on 175th Street, bridge number 201420. The resolution is be it resolved by the Jefferson County Board of Supervisors to approve supplemental agreement with Calhoun and Burns and Associates Incorporated for construction phase services on bridge FHWA number 201420 on County Road 175th Street in section 9, Township 72 North, Range 10 West, Center Township in Jefferson County, Iowa. I would move to approve the resolution.
Second.
I have a motion from Hamilton, a second from Sandquist. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay. All right, consider supplemental agreement with French Reniker and Associates for construction phase services for HMA overlay on 32nd Street. We have a resolution. Be it resolved by the Jefferson County Board of Supervisors to approve supplemental agreement for construction phase services with Calhoun and Burns and Associates Incorporated. I missed one, sorry.
Oh, we can go ahead
I
and do
got
this one.
ahead of myself on this. This is still with Calhoun and Burns and Associates Incorporated on bridge FHWA 201805 over Rock Creek on County Road Cedar Avenue in section 4, Township 71 North, Range 11 West, Des Moines Township in Jefferson County, Iowa. I would make a motion that we approve this resolution.
Second.
I have a motion from Hamilton, a second from Demmett. All those in favor say aye.
I
All
have a,
those opposed, same sign. Yes, you have something.
there's a typo on that.
Okay, and the typo would be,
Pays. It has pays.
oh,
So, okay,
missing an H.
here's one that I fixed.
The correct one.
So we'll need to go through and re-sign these folks. We'll get to that here before
Just on that one.
Yep.
That's the one that has the typo. Didn't have time to get that
Here,
formatted
that's
over
what
here.
it is.
Okay, so now we'll move to consider supplemental agreement with French Reniker and Associates for construction phase services for HMA overlay on 32nd Street. This resolution reads as follows: be it resolved by the Jefferson County Board of Supervisors to approve supplemental agreement for construction phase services with French Reniker and Associates in connection with HMA resurfacing on 32nd Street. I would move that we approve this.
Second.
Discussion.
Is talk about this being let in November.
No. January was the letting on this one. March, well, that's right. January turn in with a March letting. Because it has to be due the first Tuesday in January for a March letting, which would be towards the 15th of March or near the third week in March, in that time frame.
You guys don't miss this next coming construction season.
Oh, it'll be,
Right.
yeah, I'm not a late start date, it'll probably August.
That's a small job.
Yeah, it's just a little normal.
So I have a motion from Hamilton, a second from Sandquist. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Just another question. Is we're in the same time frame as we are?
Right, both of those sets of plans will go through the DOT letting for that particular turnout. Right, and they're both tied together because of that particular letting. So it won't be a case where one half of it will be done and then somebody comes in and does the
It
other.
could be that way, the two projects are not tied,
They aren't tied.
they are not.
Okay,
I believe they're independent of each other, but they are the same way.
right.
So
So it could
theoretically, it's the same contractor.
I was gonna say, that was what I was gonna say, it would make more sense if you're already mobilized to do it all at once. If it's the same entity that gets the bid.
All right, consider resolution to approve speed limit change on 110th Street, County Road H17 from Quince Avenue east 1,325 feet in Pleasant Plain from 55 mile an hour to 45 mile an hour. This is a discussion that Chauncey Molding and I have had with the city of Pleasant Plain about the stop sign that is an illegal traffic control device that's out there now. It never had a resolution in order to install this stop sign in the first place. The stop sign is owned by the county, and the county does have control over its signage and speed limits on its county roads. We've run into this with Vedic City in the past, where a traffic control device was put up by them, and we had to remove it because of this process. The city of Pleasant Plain has had an email from their new attorney, John Weir from Sigourney, and he has confirmed what Chauncey and I had maintained at the city council meetings that we had attended up there. The last meeting was just last week.
How did that one go? Was it better?
It was pretty much the same. No, it was pretty much the same. They were surprised again that we came back, even though I had stipulated that we were going to wait until after they had heard from their attorney on all of this. And we went back, we showed them a little bit better view of what the signage actually looks like or will look like out there. And then it was also suggested that we add a children at play sign, watch for children sign. I had asked for that. So that's also going to be included in that change. But the corporate limit for Pleasant Plain is approximately a quarter mile farther to the west from where West Street is in Pleasant Plain. And normally you start reducing speed limit at that corporate limit line. So that's why it will change to 45 mile an hour at that location, down to the 25 mile an hour at the West Street. So,
So just for this,
The 25 doesn't change, it's just that we're adding a 45, that used to be.
so it's not gonna go from 55 to 25.
right, right. And it will do that. It will do that for that first quarter mile into the city limits of Pleasant Plain. Currently now it's 55 mile an hour all the way into what, 350 feet. Later, it's 25 mile an hour. So that's going to be a safety improvement in and of itself.
Stop sign doesn't mean anything now.
Now,
It might if it already had a resolution. So,
we want to have a resolution in place before we go out and do any sign changing out there to make it official this direction.
and I do want to add a sign that wasn't shown on the drawing you had. Underneath the stop sign, it stays at west on west.
Cross traffic does not stop. Okay, we can do that. We also mentioned that to them when we were up there, as you had suggested to me, and I wasn't aware that we would go ahead and put that on, but we can.
Yeah, and I'll put a little red flag. Well, I'm assuming that sign's ours, but I guess I need to check, make sure if it's there.
I think that's nice to put that
Yeah,
on.
the stop sign would be theirs, because that one was there prior to that stop sign.
I mean, sometimes we have stop signs at our roads.
Okay.
It might be ours, but some other stop sign on another street that isn't ours, it will be ours.
All right, can I have a motion for this resolution?
Definitely.
Okay, I have a motion from Dimmitt, a second from Sandquist. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Scott, what time frame are you looking at for changing these signs then?
I told Sean about it Friday, that it would be on the agenda and that we should be ready as soon as possible to take care of it. And he was gonna, I don't know if he did it Friday, if we'll do it today, but he's gonna, first you gotta put out flags and get one call. And
Right.
he may have already put the flags out and done the one call, but I'll check on it. And feasibly, I would think we could get this done this week. It'd be good to do it as soon as possible, so we don't have to fight frozen ground later.
All right. Okay, so moving on, we'll discuss possibility of vacating that portion of Jefferson Henry Avenue, which is situated between Jefferson County Streets 225th and 230th. And furthermore, discuss and consider whether to hold separate or joint road vacation hearings. So,
So Scott, what are the pros and cons of the hearings with them?
Well, everybody knows in the vicinity, they use the roads around there, that the bridge is gone. No bridge down there, the road closed. It says the road closed ahead, do the bridge out, there's no plans to replace it. It's probably been 6 years since I've been in discussion with Henry County about vacating that road, and they kind of held off. We both kind of held off because there was a bridge there at one time, and we wanted to get it out of there for vacating the road. But Mother Nature took care of that, and it went down into Henry County somewhere. And I don't know if they've gone ahead and had. There's been people express interest to me, and I sent them on to them about going in and tearing it out for scrap, and who had to get permission from and all this. But I don't know if any of that's transpired, or if it's just gone downstream. So, so that is not a holdup. And Henry County has said that they've talked to all the property owners on both sides of the line, and everybody's in agreement and taking care of it. There's one property that is sort of separated from another road, but it's family of the ones that aren't separated, so they don't think that's a problem. They do their resolution a little bit differently. They don't, as Pat has looked at it and pointed out, they don't say that we vacate it and transfer it to somebody. They just vacate it. Let the chips fall where they may. And we might be able to go ahead on our side and do that differently. And
I think we should do whatever we normally do.
If you don't transfer it, then how do you assess property taxes?
That's a question for them if they aren't doing that process.
There's
Pat?
not a need on our side.
Could you enlighten us a little bit about the email that you sent to us regarding this issue and whether or not we should have a joint meeting between the Henry County Board of Supervisors and us for discussion of this?
Well, they're two separate issues, right? Because you guys are talking about the resolution, that's different than the meeting.
Right.
You know, to me, the meeting makes sense. They're the ones that have sort of done the legwork and the conversation with the property owners on both sides of the road. And so, you know, if there was going to be anybody that objects or anybody that supports that wants to come to the meeting, you know, makes sense to have one rather than two. That's kind of my personal opinion. In terms of then acting on the resolution, you know, it also makes sense to have that joint meeting. Obviously, it would be difficult for one county to agree to vacate and the other county to, you know, change their mind or make some different decision. You don't want half a road. So again, that helps if you do it together, I think. The issue in terms of how we do the transfer of the resolution, Henry County had put together the resolutions necessary to both publish for the public hearing and then to be considered after the public hearing to vacate. And we could use those if we chose to, or we could simply write up our own. That includes the transfer information. And I mean, I don't think that that would be difficult to do. So don't let the resolutions, the sample resolutions or the draft resolutions dictate your decision on whether or not to have a joint meeting, because I think that they're two separate things and it's an easy fix.
but they probably, I mean, I'm pretty sure they just are gonna plan it on one hearing, and we have this tradition of going through. I think in the cases, usually the cases where we want 3 hearings, I would think have to do with people like having, being able to go through on the road and making it a Class C or something like that. Well, in this case, there's really no, I mean, I don't think there's a need for more than one hearing.
Well, and statutorily, there's not a need for more than one hearing. You know, the issue that you had asked earlier about the transfer, like what do you do if you don't transfer it? If this is just a road easement, then the adjoining property owner is being taxed for it already.
Well, not until it's vacated.
Well, not until it's vacated, but it's still part of their property. This just sort of clears it up, whether it's vacated and there's an easement or whether there is, it's actually something that was possessed by the county. It makes it clear on the maps. It makes it clear in the paperwork. And the other issue that we've had in the past, as you recall, it was with railroad right of way rather than with a road right of way. But, you know, we vacated, you guys may not remember this, but we vacated some railroad right of way and then we just designated it and gave it to the adjoining property owners. And we had at least one property owner that says, I don't want that. because I don't want to pay the taxes on it. And then we kind of had a piece floating around out there. So since that experience early in my career, I've always wanted to make sure that it was very clear to everybody and could be clear on any maps moving forward. So that's why we do it the way we do it.
And I think the way we do it is better than other ways.
So, let's see, what's it reading here? I would make a motion to hold a joint meeting with Henry County Supervisors and
Second,
their engineers.
Okay, I have a motion from Dimmitt,
second,
a second from Sandquist to hold a joint meeting between Jefferson County Board of Supervisors and the Henry County Board of Supervisors for vacation of County Road let's see, the portion of roadway located in Section 6, Township 71 North, Range 7 West, Tippecanoe Township, commencing at the north right-of-way line of 230th Street and continuing northerly along existing road approximately 2,600 feet to the south right-of-way line of 225th Street in Jefferson County. And that would be on the Jefferson Henry County Avenue.
Reach out to your counterpart to see when that.
Yeah, I'll tell them today that, Lord, because I would have told them last week. This is the only, I guess the only item we have.
So I would like the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, we've done discuss and consider wage increases for 3 treasurer office employees. We now have discuss and consider wage increase for precinct election officials. This has come up, part of state code is that there is compensation for the people that work at the polls themselves. To make it effective October 5th of 2020, that the chair for each precinct be $10 per hour. It was $9.25 per hour. It has not been increased for several years at this point. And the PEOs from $9 per hour to $9 per hour, which was $8.25 previously. So I would take a motion to approve this increase.
I make the motion to approve it.
Second.
I have a motion from Sandquist and a second from Dimmitt. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, we'll move into make committee reports.
Had Emergency Management Commission meeting last Tuesday evening. The discussion was about implementing a levy by the Emergency Management Commission for purposes of dispatch, or let me rephrase that, for purposes of emergency communications and equipment. Discussing if the commission was in favor of doing that, 28E agreement with whatever entities would be involved in the terms of the transfer, so the money would be kind of a pass-through. We budgeted, the commission would pass it through to county supervisors for the sheriff's department or for the city, or however that would work out. Connie Boyer was the, as well as Aaron, city administrator. We did not have a quorum, which frustrates me and disappoints me, and it does Brett Farrell as well. But those mayors that were in attendance, we indicated to them that it would either have to be done this way or through a population. I can't think of it right now, but where we would charge them a fee based on population. And I said, the commission is not subject to 2% allowable growth. however the counties and the cities are, and it would be something you would have to put into your budget this way. It could be specifically earmarked, revenue goes to the commission, and it can be specifically earmarked for that purpose because the code says it can only be used for that purpose.
Right, and that would be the levy that you're talking about.
Right. And so at this point, no decision was made because again, we didn't have a quorum. As Darren is well aware of, and Dee, we can't open the contract, well, and Pat as well, and Chauncey, we can't open the contract until November, which obviously is next month. I do think that it's appropriate, as much as I'd like to be involved in the final outcome of that, I do think it's appropriate for whomever wins the election to be part of that discussion, because there's going to be a significant amount of money involved in that process. So that's where we're at on that. Ambulance board meeting was just a general meeting. We met with representatives from CARE, went over basically their first month of service, number of calls they had, that sort of thing. They were very, they provided a lot of information. We probably got more information than, never mind, Pat, I won't say it. I just suffice it to say that the communication was really good, and the amount of information provided was good. And quite a, it just, I think it's going to work out well. At least I have high hopes. Had third meeting, would be my last one, which is hazmat. And we discussed the training and that sort of thing, and just, it was just pretty much a general, and also 1015 transit, discussion about building purchases, buying the lots north of us, or the spaces north of us, because we need to increase space. We've got several buses on over. The main thing we're wanting to do is to move our administrative offices probably closer to uptown, start a shuttle. And because the city closed off our bus stop, which the DOT is not happy about, but the city and the DOT, they've moved it across the railroad tracks, which is completely unacceptable, especially in the wintertime. It's very difficult for folks with handicap issues. And so we're looking at implementing a new bus stop, using the shuttle to get folks to that bus stop. We want to be up close to the school because we have a lot of students that ride the fixed route buses home. So we can shuttle them to those fixed route buses or location there. So that's a discussion that the board had. Whether it's resolved before the end of the year remains to be seen. We're looking at we already purchased the Breaddoor property, and we're looking at property up along east and west along the 2nd Street that abuts the Breaddoor property, and we may be able to obtain that property. We'll see.
Yeah, I've got several. Steel, the region is going to purchase tablets for the CDSs. And so they have a backup system, since every 8 of the counties are on a different computer system. In today's environment, they need to be able to communicate, and that will be property of the counties. It was made very clear to us. So the tablets will remain with the counties. They also had some discussion about office space as county space for the, they're basically our employees that work for SEAL. And there were some CARES Act funds that were awarded. I know Fairfield Community Schools received some. There's a second round of CARES Act funds application. So, and it's for mental health purposes. So any providers, school systems are eligible to apply for that through SEAL. And again, that's all through emergency funds. And that was the highlights of that meeting. Darren and I met with ICAP, did our annual biannual review. They have a resource library they said we should consider, and this is something we can talk about at safety committee, running an annual motor vehicle report for anybody who drives a county vehicle. And does every department use the same application? Background checks at time of hire for all employees. So these are things they're recommending to us, and that we need certificates of insurance for any contractor. We get them typically for the larger ones.
Right.
And then, and again, we're doing 2 weeks worth of meetings. So AC team, the Alcohol Consumption Task Force, Chris and Pat, I know you're on there, so chime in. Pat, you're our chair. They had some talk about what substances are in the schools, and they do a monthly act educational piece that goes out. What else you want to say about that? Drug take back day was Saturday. I haven't heard how that went. You can always take back drugs to New Kira Pharmacy.
I think of that drug take back day when some of us that take so many drugs, we go through that and see if why.
Stop. Okay, and then we had a Bridges Out of Poverty small group follow up to get that resurrected and going since COVID really slowed that down. And Chris was on that too, so chime in, Chris. We met with Jason Henry from the Well and
Chris does have something she wants to say.
Oh, hi, Chris.
Hey, good morning. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, I was on and then I had to hop off and then I'm back on. So, yeah, I am going to serve on the, I don't know what Matt Smith is calling it. I don't want to say the drug task force, but it's like, it's the school task force for substance use in school, and the main focus is going to be the high school first. So I know that KMCD's on, so I would direct you to ask to talk to Matt Smith at the school. He's the chairperson for that. Yeah, I'm excited about the Bridges Out of Poverty, that continued work in our community with the Well and with Pathfinders. You know, we've not yet begun to see the impact of COVID-19 and the financial stress that individuals and businesses are going to be under in the next year or two. Some businesses obviously are never going to recover. So there's lots of information that's going to be forthcoming with that. Do you want me to get in the safety committee? Let's see what else. Oh, we had the fire extinguisher safety training on Friday, and then we have it again tomorrow. So Dee shared that information. I got that set up with the fire department. It is actually fun because you get to pull the pin and use the fire extinguisher and put out a real fire. So the hands-on is a very good way to learn, because I've never used a fire extinguisher. So it's good to have that hands-on practice. Dee, do you want me to give you a COVID update now so I can hop back off? Okay. I will say that it's been a busy weekend for me. I've been on the phone with our school two of our 3 schools this weekend, and the chairman of the Board of Health, which is Bergmeyer, and one of our school nurses and a couple other people in our community. I talked to Dr. Knoll yesterday, and in the middle of the afternoon, and then I know that Fairfield, the school board voted to, I don't know that they voted, let me amend that statement. I know that they decided to have face-to-face school. I kind of have mixed feelings about that. And since the media is on this call, no offense media, I had to be careful with what I say as far as we're all in this together. However, if we can have face-to-face activities that are extracurricular activities, then our students need to have the opportunity to learn face-to-face. If you look at the numbers in Jefferson County, the numbers of the individuals, 45% of those individuals are in the 18 to 40 age range, and less than 10% are in the 0 to 18 age range. So that tells me that 10% of those individuals are in the 0 to 18 age range. So that tells me that 10% of those individuals are in the 0 to 18 age range. So that means that 10% of those individuals are in the 0 to 18 age range. So that means that 10% of those individuals are in the 0 to 18 age range. So that means that 10% of those individuals are in the 0 to 18 age range. So that means that 10% of those individuals are in the 0 to 18 age range. So that means that 10% of those individuals are in the 0 to 18 age range. So that means that 10% of those individuals are in the 0 to 18 age range. So that means that 10% of those individuals are in the 0 to 18 age range. So that means that 10% of those individuals are in the 0 to 18 age range. So that means that 10% of those individuals are in the 0 to 18 age range. So that means that 10% of those individuals are in the 0 to 18 age range. So that means that 10% of those individuals you know, even the little kids that have been back in school, the grade school kids, they're doing a great job with the mitigation of the illness. So it's difficult times for all of us, but I know that not only disease mitigation is a priority, but also all of the other support that needs to go along with our kids, the mental health component for our kids to have the support of their students, their teachers, the learning. It's difficult times for all of us. We have 101 positive cases today, active cases, I should say active cases in the county. The nurses are busy. All the lines are lit up right now. Hold on, I got a text message. I want to see what this is. This is not going to go, Gary Coffey, that's funny. I will say this is going to continue to be in our community even after next Tuesday. It's going to get worse before it gets better. And I know there's been lots of wedding receptions, lots of community activity. This is going to continue to spread. So I had a phone conversation with the Director of Health and Human Services, or Director of Human Services, and the Interim Director of the Iowa Department of Public Health. That individual's name is Kelly Garcia. I had a 35-minute phone call with her last Thursday. The amount of time that we are spending doing contact tracing locally is not only frustrating, but it becomes a waste of time because there's nothing that we're doing for the positive cases. We're not prophylaxing them with antibiotics or antivirals. There's not a vaccine available now. Even if there was a vaccine available, people would opt out of it, and that is fine. That is their choice. If we continue to do this contact tracing, you're going to see a bigger and bigger divide between the communities and the local people. I'm not the people police. I'm the public health administrator, and we're tired. Okay, we've been dealing with this since January, and I just got an email today from somebody that's a physician out east. Her parents live here, and she wants to know what we're doing about the spread of COVID-19. Really? What are we doing about the spread of COVID-19? The same stuff we've been doing for months. I can't mitigate human behavior, okay? Pat McEvan and the law enforcement people would be out of a job if we could mitigate human behavior, okay? Until everybody either gets the virus and becomes symptomatic, or they get the virus and their bodies build antibodies, or you get a vaccine, this is going to continue on. So I don't know how to continue this response. If it's a tornado, if it's a derecho, if it's a fire, if it's a code, you call the code and move on, and you pronounce that person either dead or you pronounce that person alive, and you're going to transfer them to a higher level of care. I don't know what the community expects from me or this department. Does anybody have any suggestions or ideas?
Well, Chris, a couple of things. One, my daughter got notification from the school district last night that the high school and the middle school will stay hybrid.
I know.
In regards to everything you said is accurate in terms of, you know, whether we get it or vaccine or other mitigating issues. But I think it's critically important to put it in perspective from the standpoint that this last flu season in this country alone, we had 39 million cases and 60,000 deaths, and that's with a vaccine, and that's CDC numbers. That's not my numbers. And so I think that this has gotten so out of control in terms of how it was managed, and that doesn't mean you or I just think that what you said is completely accurate. It has to run its course until, like you say, until a vaccine is available. I'm not convinced, honestly, and I know I'm the odd man out here, but when you see, I don't know what the reason for the increases here in the last couple of weeks are, unless it's you blame it on cold weather, because we've had people socializing for several months now, and then we have this spike. But I mean, with the exception of a few people like myself, I mean, at church, everybody's wearing masks, there's social distancing, and I think you're fooling yourselves if you think that's going to work. I just think that it's, you know, it is what it is. It's like any other virus, and I think you nailed it. It has to run its course, and I think a vaccine will be developed, and those that choose to access it will do so, and those that choose not to will do so, and it'll end up being just like H1N1 and all of the flu vaccines and stuff that we have every year. You indicated to me that we kind of watch the southern hemisphere when it comes to flu. Last year's flu bug or virus was one we hadn't seen in 27 years, according to the Department of Public Health and the CDC. So, you know, it's a crapshoot. Every day it's a crapshoot.
It is. And the only guarantee in life is death. And I mean, you know, that's the only guarantee in life.
Don't leave out taxes.
Well, we don't have to pay taxes. You can not pay them and go to jail and have a sheriff's sale. So the only true guarantee in life is death. That's the only guarantee. If I say that and get quoted, it's like, oh my God, she doesn't care about people. No, that's not what I said. What I said was, at some point, all of us will leave this earth, but we cannot, as a society, continue this pace of anger and hatred and ostracizing local businesses because they have an employee that has COVID.
Right.
I mean, you cannot have that mindset and that mentality. It's not appropriate. And for our children that have IEPs, individual education plans, that need extra assistance, that maybe school's the only place for them to go to get a hot meal, to get support, to get out of the hellhole that they're living in that's called home. I just don't understand the school board's rationale behind the decision. I told Dr. Knoll yesterday when I talked to her for about 45 minutes, I said, if you want to give the school board my cell phone number, that's fine. I'll be happy to talk to the school board members. I said, or they can call me first thing in the morning at 7:30. I'll be at the office. I said, if you don't give the kids the option to if you give the kids the option to return back to face-to-face learning, that still gives them the option to have the hybrid. So even if you don't want to go back to school, you can still have the hybrid. But if you don't give them the face-to-face option, you're not giving those kids an option. You're mandating online learning. We're the only school district in this area that's doing hybrid learning.
Yeah.
And I don't understand. If we can have sports and extracurricular activities and do everything else, then you're doing a disservice to our children to not allow them to have face-to-face learning. Now, if we had 100 cases at the high school, that would be a different story. But we don't have those numbers. If you look at the numbers on the Iowa coronavirus website, it's the adults, it's the 18 to 40-year-olds that are usually the healthy demographics of the population. So I don't know, but I feel like no matter what we say or do here at the health department, we can't win. We can't do anything. No matter what we say, we piss somebody off somewhere, excuse my word, but I don't know, you guys. I really don't know. I don't. Do you guys, what do you guys, how can we handle this differently? Oh God, now the phone's ringing again. I did put out a Facebook post last week because we were getting a lot of calls about the election. I was not in any way, shape or form throwing the auditor under the bus. I was not, but that is not my responsibility. And I needed to turf that where it needed to go. So that's why that Facebook post came out saying, if you have questions about voting, call the auditor's office. That's the appropriate place to handle those concerns, not the health department.
Go ahead.
Okay, Chris, there's a question I have that you may not be able to answer, but I've been confronted several times about why the county does not implement a mask mandate ordinance when supposedly the boards of supervisors have the power to do that. But when you review the two counties that have put this into place, Johnson County and Story County, the initial beginnings of those resolutions that the counties passed were based off of the Board of Health, either city or county, supporting that action to begin with. Then it went to the cities next, who adopted that Board of Health's determination. They created the ordinances and then went to the county supervisors, who in turn only did a resolution in support of the city's ordinance covering the mandate. And in both of those cases, neither one of the counties are actually able to be enforcing the mandate by ticketing or whatever means that they want to do in order to get fines paid for not wearing a mask. And I've tried to explain that that's the process by which we have to go through here in order to do that. And I haven't seen any real support from the Board of Health in wanting to do something like this. And so it kind of leaves me at a standstill with what I know is capable of our board doing once those are in place versus not being there. Now, do you have any more enlightenment on that?
Well, I can tell you that I'd had some email correspondence with Steve Bergmeyer, who's the chairman, and you know, we have a 5-person board that's appointed by you guys, as you know, the supervisors. And for those that don't know, then the Board of Health members serve a 3-year term. So here's the deal. It is greater than a local mandate. And when the governor doesn't mandate wearing masks, we would be fighting a losing battle if the Board of Health took the time and reviewed everything, brought that information forward to the city or the county. Who's going to enforce it? We're spending more time being the mask tattletale people. If you want to wear a mask, wear a mask. If you don't, then I guess that's your choice. It might not be the best choice depending on your own underlying health risks, but it might be. We don't know for sure. So at this point, we have a Board of Health meeting, I'm looking at the calendar, November 19th. It'll be on the agenda to discuss, not take action on, just, I'm going to put something about masks or something. I don't know what exactly I'm going to put on there, but I don't foresee that happening. It's a little too late now. The bottom line, it's a little too late now. And again, it goes back to people's choices, and it becomes an unenforceable rule. Nobody's going to get detention. Nobody's going to get a fine. I don't have time to mitigate people's behaviors, and that's above my pay grade. I know it makes people angry, but you know what? At the end of the day, I'm not going to run around here and worry about people that aren't wearing a mask. They know what they need to do. They know the current guidance. In 2 years, the guidance might be like, well, why in the Sam hell were you doing that? That was the guidance based on the information that we had today. It could change by the end of today.
That's right. That's exactly right. And that's the key. And to take it a step further, like it's been said, the cure can't be worse than the disease. And you talked about earlier about the divide that's in the community. You want to exacerbate that divide. You just go ahead and try and enforce a mask mandate. I guarantee you that you're going to have, people confronting people that don't even know each other, because there is a passion on both sides of the issue. Nobody has been restrained from wearing a mask in this courtroom, in this courthouse when they're voting. We have plastic screens or whatever, the plexiglass screens or whatever that's up. Our poll workers here are wearing masks. I frankly don't know what the hell the problem is. Okay, and those that want to wear masks, they're not in here for an extended period of time. I'm with people every single day. And it's amazing how many people that I know that have personally had the coronavirus that were never sick, including 4 members of my own family, one which was an 18-month-old. And it's, to me, I really appreciate what you said about it could change tomorrow. The whole dynamic is fluid. And this has created such, not just here, but everywhere, this has created such an us versus them quotient that, we have to stop this. We absolutely have to stop doing this. Everybody's okay about the choice to wear masks, but then pardon my French, but then you're an asshole if you don't. And I think that that's a bunch of BS. And, you know, to me, there is no confirmation, strong confirmation. I mean, there is no proof, maybe that's the word, that it may protect me from you, but it doesn't protect you. And if that was the case and everybody was wearing masks and the 6-foot social distancing and all of this and that, hell, we shouldn't have any cases. We should never have the flu. But now we're talking about the flu season coming on. We should see some really reduced numbers of the flu this year if everybody's wearing masks and doing the 6-foot social distancing, if it really works.
Well, and the thing too, if you know, I know my risk factors health-wise, just like everybody on this call or everybody in the community knows. You know, I have a pregnant daughter, you know, so I'm trying to stay as healthy as I can because her baby's due in 4 weeks. So, you know, I'm on grandma backup calls. So, you know, I don't want to take an illness to a newborn or a pregnant daughter, or, you know, I'm not undergoing chemotherapy. I don't have an autoimmune disease. I'm relatively healthy other than being obese. Okay. Right. So I'm just going to throw it out there. But at the end of the day, if I had an underlying health issue, if I had a respiratory problem, if I had a cardiac problem, I would look at things differently. But I shouldn't have to tell people to wash their hands. That should be common sense, basic hygiene 101.
Yep.
Okay. But we still tell people to wash their hands. And for our little kids, our preschoolers, our grade schoolers, they have to learn those skills, those hygiene skills early. If you don't, you're not going to carry them through to adulthood. There's so many things. And I told the director this too, our interim health director at the Iowa Department of Public Health. I said, we can't be so far divided. We have got to come together and we've got to figure out how to put this in perspective. You guys have heard me say this numerous times, and I'll say it again. In the 26 years I've been a nurse, 13 at public health, I just celebrated my 13th year here, woohoo, last week. I have never seen this kind of response, and I have never dealt with such angry people because of a freaking virus, okay? It is no different than any other virus that we're exposed to. Every virus at one time was new and considered novel, whether it's chickenpox, smallpox, roseola, rubella, mumps, measles, herpes, gonorrhea, chlamydia, any kind of sexually or community spread disease at one time was new. And you know what? We still have TB. We still have sexually transmitted diseases and infections. Come on, people, put it in perspective.
Yep.
But if I say that in an open forum, people will twist it and say that I don't care, and that's not true. I care very passionately about this county, or I wouldn't be fighting the damn fight that I keep fighting. But I don't know how to, Brett and I have these conversations all the time, and Stacy from the hospital. I don't know what else to say, so I'm just going to mute myself right now because I think Brett wants to say something. It's like, yeah, get some duct tape. I do appreciate your support. I appreciate your question, Darren. Did you have another question, Darren?
No, I didn't. I just wanted it out there that this is the order in which things have to progress in order to have that mandate that's been thrown around that I haven't been doing because I have the leadership position that I can sign this off right now and have everybody do this. And that is not the case. It's not a sole decision. It's not something that someone can say, okay, you have to follow me just because I say so.
Right. Well, it's just like speeding. We know what the speed limit is, but you know what? If I'm on in 218 and 380, I'm sure as a hell not going to go 55 or 65. I'm going to be traveling faster than that, or I'm going to get ran over. And I know what the posted speed limit is. Okay.
Pat, did you hear that?
Thanks, Chris.
Anyway,
Thank you.
If nobody minds, I do have a comment to make. I got my flu shot last week, and well, I consider that to be pretty important because I'm less likely to get the flu, because if I get the flu, everybody's going to wonder if it's COVID or not. I'm going to wonder it, my family. At least if I get my flu shot and don't get the flu because I did that, that's one less headache to put up with.
That's true. And right now we're seeing a huge increase in, before it got so cold and before, when everybody was harvesting, we had a lot of allergies, seasonal allergies and stuff. We still have that right now. You're right. And thank you for that reminder. So we're not giving flu shots this year. We haven't for a couple of years. We can't compete with private pharmacies, and we don't care where you get your flu shot. We just want you to get a flu shot. So, and bill your insurance company. That's important. And that's part of the reason we don't do it anymore, because we don't have that infrastructure, and that's okay. Hey, Bert, do you want to add something? Because we're having some other stuff.
Yeah, I guess, Brett.
Not really. I mean, I don't want to have a whole COVID discussion, but I agree with some of the stuff Chris said now. And Darren, I do feel for the elected officials who seem to be getting a lot of heat about mandates and stuff like that. And, since we started working on this, Chris and we put out press releases, right? The guidelines and information. And I still see questions on social media about why we're not doing contact tracing or stuff like that. And public health has been doing that since the first case came to this county. So we don't know, the frustrating part is we don't know what more information we can put out on the guidelines and what you should and shouldn't be doing. And the mask mandate, I feel bad that everybody's taking the heat for that. But I can tell you that working in a law center, a mandate, they're spread thin anyway, so they're not going to go out and arrest people or cite them because they're spread thin on what they do now. And having a kid that plays school sports and having a mandate when you walk in the door for for a sporting event. And I will say this: Jefferson County and Fairfield residents do a really good job of the mask thing. But when you bring other counties and other teams from out of town to those, and it says right on the door masks are required, they're not required. I've been to volleyball games where there's been a whole group of from other towns that didn't wear a mask in. So you can say it's required or mandated, but it's not going to stop the people that don't want to wear one to make them wear one, because how do they patrol it? Again, it's the right thing to do. We understand that. We've been working on this since day one. When Chris says that we're tired, we are, because you still see a lot of the negative things and the shaming for people not wearing them. And then we get calls all day long about things that we've put out information about 100,000 times in the last 8 months. And it's very frustrating. So we don't have the answers. The disease is real. It's not a good thing. We recognize that. We've been trying to mitigate and put plans in place from day one in case, it goes south, but the cases are going to increase. It's community spread. We're doing more testing. And, one thing that's very frustrating to me is I see a lot of times is someone will point out that so-and-so didn't, they went somewhere and they didn't have a mask on. And then they went somewhere else to Dollar General and someone wasn't wearing a mask. And then they went somewhere else in the same day. Well, if everybody remembers, the guidance at the beginning was limit your trips. You shouldn't be in 4 or 5 establishments in the same day. I mean, I know sometimes you have to go out for groceries and do what you do, but you have to put it kind of back on yourself. What should I be doing? So that's kind of my, in the school thing, frustrating to me. I have an IEP student and she went to bed crying last night because she was so looking forward to getting back in school. And her biggest thing was a lot of her, when she's around her friends, the things that she struggles in, they're very helpful and supportive. She doesn't get that at home. I don't care. It's not happening. And it's on a personal note, I know a lot of other parents out there in the same situation. And I know the other side is going to say, well, tough luck. Everybody's got to sacrifice. Well, is the mental health, more important than, like Chris said, the numbers don't show it in the school. Every other school around us is going to school. So that's just kind of my point. And it's personal with me because I have a kid that went to bed crying last night because she can't hardly handle the hybrid learning at home. She doesn't get what she needs face to face, and very frustrating.
Brad, I've got a granddaughter that has exactly the same issue. In fact, she failed in that first 6 weeks. She's not real diligent, and I'll be the first to admit that, and she does not like school, and she'd be the first to admit that. But believe it or not, she's looking forward to going back to face-to-face.
Yep.
And she's very disappointed, and, you know, I agree with you, the mental health is an issue. She's on anxiety medicine, which absolutely boggles my mind for a 15-year-old, but she is. And I think about our senior citizens, my mother-in-law. You know, right now we're able to visit her. If they go back to not having visits, you know, what does that do? I obviously, I understand we don't want it or the flu, either one, to run rampant through our nursing homes, to be sure. But the non-contact with family members for months at a time, I'm not sure that isn't worse than the disease in some respects. You know, my mother-in-law has an element of dementia, and she has all kinds of issues anyway. And then to compound that by not being able to see family members, yeah, we could call her on the phone, but I think we all understand that it's not the same. No, I don't want her to die. I don't want other people in the nursing home to die, but how do you put it in perspective? Like you guys have said, you've gotten all kinds of flack. You know, I wonder sometimes if you're not better off just to go dark.
We've had a pretty healthy discussion on this issue. I still have a committee report to make. I did meet with Dee about the ICAP insurances. A lot of the things that they talked about, we already do and we already have in place. And I think we've done well with our safety committee and adding it, and also bringing up the insurance company's awareness of the fact that we're doing this and we're being proactive. The other meeting that I would have had was with the landfill, Semco landfill. Again, things are moving along tremendously up there. We are down in tonnage this year from what we were last year at this particular time, but one of the biggest factors in that is a year ago they were doing a lot of clean out over at Dexter, the foundry. I think it's Faircast now. They aren't doing that this year, and so we are down about 530 tons of material from what we were a year ago at this time. But if you look back 2 years ago at this time, we were actually up even more than what we did last year. So we're good with where we're standing with Semco, and so that's all I had with that.
I've got one more quick one. I've had an early childhood Iowa meeting, and in the essence of time, I'll wait and report more on that later, or maybe have Tammy Lee-Jane Custerson come. We have a lot of data. We've worked on our annual plan, and between the 3 counties, Iowa, Jefferson, and Keokuk, we are sadly behind in many of the indicators. So I may invite Tammy here sometime to discuss that in more detail.
Hey, Darren, a question regarding Semco.
Yes.
Is there an individual restriction? In other words, if I was to take something up to the landfill, I vaguely remember Dick talking about it. Maybe I misunderstood. I mean, is there any reason why I can't personally take?
No, there's no reason you cannot take that up there yourself. It is good if you call and say that you're on your way with stuff up to the landfill, then they can do personal service with you a little bit easier. They do have in place though now where you can drive in on their scale and it will be printed out for you. You would get out of your vehicle to get it from a location on the outside of the building so that you don't have any direct contact with the employees that way up there. Again, Semco has a very small staff. There's 3 gentlemen that work out in the landfill area themselves, and then the director and an office assistant up there. The change in the scaling system has worked out really well. Commercial drivers, when they come in, all of that's logged with who they are and their accounts that they have, and then those numbers are sent back to their headquarters rather than having to have the drivers pick them up and get in and out of their vehicle as they did a lot of times. They also drive in and they can dump in specific spots. The difference between a commercial hauler and a private hauler, such as yourself, taking something up there, is that there is more face-to-face time that goes on between you and one of the outside landfill workers in order to get your vehicle unloaded and everything off. Because some people, while they have a lot of help getting it on, they don't have a lot of people that go with them to help get it all back off. They go up there and hope that somebody actually helps them at the landfill. And they've done really well. They have not had any COVID cases for any of their employees up there. So we've been very fortunate that way, because if a staff that small, one person gets affected, all of them go into a quarantine for 2 weeks. That means our landfill is closed for 2 weeks. So we would not be able to take any refuse at all. And with a city the size of Fairfield, and you have city in Washington, you have Sigourney, that all haul to this one particular landfill, and all of the other smaller surrounding communities doing the same thing with their garbage pickups. It would pose a big problem, because these contract haulers would not have any place to put that until the landfill opens up, or have to take it to another landfill even farther away, which then in turn sends prices up based off of that. And even though it's a 2-week time period, that's something they would have to absolutely do, because again, they don't have enough space to save 2 weeks of garbage here in Fairfield in a particular location till they could move it out to somewhere else. So those are my committee reports. Public comment. I know we have a gentleman here from the public. I don't know if you were just coming in to sit in on the meeting, or if you...
So I'll do that after the meeting. I do want to say that was a very learning discussion on the COVID. I remind us more to, I'd rather not be somebody that gives somebody the COVID if I come down with it. If I get it, I get it. It's the way it is, but I wear it more for hopefully other people's protection. But that was I think a really well talked out.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Do we have any other public comments that we've heard from our constituents out here, other than what we discussed during the COVID discussion? All right. Hearing no more comments, I would allow claims and approve reports.
Second.
I have a motion from Dimmitt, a second from Sandquist, to approve reports and approve reports and allow claims. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Do we have anything to discuss with our nuisance properties? I know we've gotten a couple of emails that people have been notified again, and we do have one person that is working to try to get a property cleaned up, but the person that owns the property has now gone to a convalescent home or nursing home, one or the other, for health problems, and it's left up to their daughter to try to handle it from this point. We have said that we were going to not take hardship cases. We were going to let the system work itself through. But
What'd you do?
anyway,
You know, that is property out by Libertyville. The daughter has been working on it off and on. She did contact Bruce for the list of names and phone numbers. So she supposedly is going to reach out to one of those contractors to see if they would come in and clean up. I don't know what the source. I don't know what the status is on that. We have sent out a few more notices of new nuisance properties that have come on. And then we have several notices out there that are in their final phase. So the board is going to be tasked with reaching out to those contractors or Bruce will be, Russ will be, to ask them to review the properties and to bid on them. And Pat and I have been in discussions. We had a situation where property was cited back in July. They've gotten it cleaned up and they did a really nice job. But in the interim, the notice was sent to Pat to file, and Pat did. And so if we withdraw it, there's the issue of court costs. So that's kind of an ongoing discussion, and maybe we'll have to sit down with Pat and maybe hammer out I'm not sure what the word is, but a process, a policy, or however that would be handled moving forward in the future. Other than that, I think things are going pretty smooth. Pat, you got anything?
I do not.
Okay.
And I was asked, I don't know, a couple weeks ago or so about fixing this down on Hickory, and so I did go down and look, and I had a chance to talk to him. I don't know, it looked to me like there'd been a lot of cleanup going on.
I am, the vehicles are moved. There is one thing I do ask. My LP tank is still on that line.
Yeah.
But it's chrome full, so I hate to try and. It's not blocking anything, but it's connected to the house.
Okay. Yeah, I noticed that as I was leaving, and I didn't come back to talk about it, but.
I mean, in the spring, when it's emptier, you know, if I can get them out, they can just pick it up and move it, and I run the line. But right now, it's chrome full.
Is that one pickup or whatever it was on Zero Ones, is that enough to them?
Down there, like I said, there was one back in there, it's gone.
Oh, great.
I know I got 3 of them out of there. That was done, he was there on Monday.
One of the other is right after I was asked about it.
And my son come out and he didn't get it.
Great.
I'm like you, I wouldn't mess with that.
But I did get a notice, and I know I get kind of lazy on things.
I'm right there with you.
Me and Pat had something worked out the last time that was going to be $50 a month.
Right.
Until I got it cleaned, and when we came in to make our first $50 payment, they fined me $750. And it was kind of a kick in the butt that nobody's gonna work this $50 a month, and then I got lazy. And I wonder if I can have an extension done next year. And if it's Rush or Russ.
Russ, RUSS.
I guess every 30 days I'm talking to somebody, I'm looking at it and saying, well, you know, I know a few times I cleaned it while it wasn't the area they wanted cleaned. I spent all this time over here when I should have been over here.
Well, I think the issue, and I'm going to dump this in Pat's lap, but the issue is the way that the ordinance is written. But we've said all along, and Pat, jump in here at any point in time. You know, we said all along, as long and you know, Kent or Bruce or somebody will come out, and review the property. And as long as they're seeing progress, continual progress, then we'll let it run its course, because we understand and recognize that it in some instances it's going to take more than 2 or 3 days to get okay. And so we understand that, but as far as making special exceptions, I think that's the most of the exception we can make, as long as they're seeing progress, and you're always welcome to invite Russ back out to look, and they may come out and say, hey, everything is looking good, you need to get rid of that over there, or in regards to the LP tank, they're not going to say anything about the LP tank. That may be a county issue that has to be moved, but has nothing to do with your nuisance violation. And as long as, and like I say, as long as you're making progress and you're working with Russ, that's ultimately what we want to see.
I'm willing to work with.
But I do think that it,
The last time for not finding out who I need to get hold of.
so I do think that you need to work with Russ because they're our agent, and then any questions regarding any letters or anything that you receive, you would, you know, because we're not always, I mean, we're apprised of when they send out new letters, but we're not visiting the property, so they're the ones that are there. And then of course, Pat works closely with Russ and obviously with the individuals. So I, as far as giving you an extension till next year, the board can't do that, but I would recommend that you reach out to Bruce Hudson and Ken Hummel and have a conversation with them. Maybe in an email conversation between them and Pat. Progress is the key. As long as we're seeing continual progress, there is no. I sure can. There isn't any reason why we don't want anybody to go to court. What we wanted, and we don't want to find anybody. What we want is properties just to come into compliance.
Like I said, I don't want to leave it for my kids. It's my mess. I don't want to leave it for them.
Right.
And I haven't called any iron, but I've sorted it out, got it in one spot. My brother told me a guy that if I can get a hold of him, I tried 3 times over the weekend, that will haul cars so I can get rid of some vehicles.
Now, if you want, when you contact Russ, if you don't have anybody, we have people that will, and we don't know what they charge or anything, but we have people that you could contact and
That do this,
that do that kind of
do
thing.
hauling. And Russ knows who those people are now, is what Lee's trying to say. And that way, if you don't get in contact with this gentleman that you just talked about, there are alternatives and they're out there and we can get you in contact with them if you go through either of those numbers that you have now.
We had a property up in Abington that had probably, I'm guessing, 3 acres of vehicles and washing machines and whatnot. And the local contractor here that went out and cleaned that up. I have no idea what he charged. I do know that part of his fee was predicated upon what he could get out of the stuff that he took out of there. But that would be between you and the contractors, but I do know that these folks will do it. They'll come out and look at it and say, okay, I'm gonna charge you about $235, you know, just whatever.
I know who I was looking at.
Well, I didn't have a mask on. Like I said, I have to wear them at work. That's mandated at work, and so I'm used to wearing them. But to me, I'm more afraid if I come down with them again with somebody.
Right.
I don't want to be the guy spreading.
And for clarification, they only asked about the ride. So like I said, when I was out there, I'm only concerned about what's in the right of way.
I'm out there.
That's
I still
great.
have, there's some paper stuff down there. I break the other day with the landscape.
It's been windy.
Well, even,
All right.
even there was less debris and stuff that wouldn't cause a wreck or anything, but it was cleaned up really well in the right of way.
But yeah, my LP tank is still right there.
Yeah, and that,
It's not blocking right away. You can get a vehicle down through there easily, but
well,
it's right there on it, so I don't.
There's kind of
a hole.
extra right of way in there, because there's a straightaway and a straightaway, and they come out and meet somewhere out in there, and we don't need that much right of way, but since it is right of way, we gotta keep it clean or sell it at all, things like so.
And that's our issue too. We have to apply the ordinance equally. If we don't, then the bucket doesn't hold water. Because somebody else can come back and say, well, you didn't make John Doe do this. So the ordinance is pretty black and white. And there is a reason for that. So, but again, as long as they're seeing progress,
Well, I will give them a call.
Okay. All right. I think that concludes the business that was in front of the Board of Supervisors today. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Thank you. So moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Dimmitt, a second from Sandquist to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you very much for everybody that had joined us with this meeting today, and have a good day.
put it on that paperwork you have to sign.